Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So nice to be here with you. Thank you for the beautiful job you did with the announcements and your affirmations and your prayers. It's just a joy to be here to celebrate. And isn't it wonderful to be in community together?
Yes.
I think that's the most important thing, to come together in community. So my talk today is called Calling All Hearts. And I got that idea from a little plaque that someone gave me that sits in my office. And the plaque reads, "Calling all hearts, your family and the world needs you to be brave with your lives." And isn't that the truth right now?
Yes.
That we are all needed. Our hearts are all needed. And when we open our hearts, we expand that light. We expand and we send that out. And we are needed to be brave, to step past our fears and our considerations and be brave in the world. We're needed to be brave to develop hearts with compassion and with love. And so I heard a little story, just a little humor. There's a story of a young man, and he really loved this woman. And so he wrote her a letter about his commitment to her. And he said, "I would swim the widest ocean just to see your face. I would battle the most ferocious dragon to hold your hand. I would work 7 days a week to supply your slightest desire. P.S. I'll be by on Sunday to see you if it doesn't rain." So he kind of lost the brave part there, you know? So anthropologist Margaret Mead was once asked, what was the first sign of culture or civilization? And so you might expect her to say a certain kind of clay pot or tools for hunting. But no, she said it was a femur bone that was 15,000 years old. A femur bone. It's the longest bone in the body, and it's the bone that connects the hip to the knee. And it was found at an archaeological site. And she said, without modern medicine, it would take 6 weeks of complete rest to heal. So think about that 15,000 years ago. In the animal kingdom, if a bone is broken, the animal dies.
Yes.
There's no way for them to survive long enough for it to heal. So the fact that this femur bone was healed tells us a story of someone that helped another fellow human. Someone cared for them. And Margaret Mead said that was the beginning of civilization. It was the capacity to care for each other, to have compassion, to sacrifice for each other. Isn't that remarkable? The Dalai Lama says compassion and tolerance are not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength.
Yes.
And so our brains also tell us a story of compassion and tolerance. Neuroscientists have learned so much in the past few years, right, about the brain. They've learned so much that there's the very basic. There's 3 parts to the brain. The back of the brain is the reptilian brain, it's survival. And the middle is the limbic, and that's emotions. And the front is the cortex, that is the thinking. So that's the 3 parts of the brain. When we experience feelings of connectedness and oneness, the prefrontal cortex, the front of the brain, lights up. And there's integration in the whole brain. It's harmonizing. And it takes, in order for that to happen, it takes patience, mindfulness, and awareness for that connection and oneness. But in contrast, when we feel angry, and when we feel like we want to hurt someone, the prefrontal quiets down and the survival in the back is activated and it takes over. And then we feel fear. It activates the emotions. We feel fear and separation. It's every person for themselves, right? When we're in that place of fear. So scientists say that there's something called the limbic hijack. And that's when there's such strong emotions such as fear and anger. And when they take control of the whole brain. They bypass the normal responses the brain would have. And this occurs when the limbic system overrides the cortex, which is responsible for our logical thinking. So there's no logical thinking, there's no rational thinking, and without a check of rational thinking, there's a loss of control. And unfortunately, we see this a lot in the world today, don't we? There's a loss of control, there's an anger and a feeling of separation. And when that is happening, there's a loss of rational activity. And so we see this a lot. So the next time you notice, if you have any kind of sense of maybe anger or frustration, begin by taking a breath. Would you take a breath with me? And let's take a breath and release it with a sigh. We underestimate the power of the breath, but it helps us balance that. Didn't you feel a settling? Didn't you feel a shift? It balances our emotions. It settles our emotions. And if we are in an intense situation, if we can remember to take a breath, we've calmed down. We've calmed down, and the cortex, the frontal cortex, is able to have rational thought. It helps us also to remove ourselves from a situation when we're feeling anxiousness or anger. Remove ourselves, take some deep breaths, and calm down. It may take some time, but with practice, we can learn to do that, to not react to the situation, but to take a step back and learn how to respond. And when we're able to do that, there's a calmness that happens. Because we get to choose the type of response we want to have in the world, right? We can react with force or worry or fear, or we can take a breath and respond. In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, Brené Brown says we can choose to live wholehearted living. And wholehearted living is about engaging from a place of worthiness. It means when we cultivate courage, compassion, and connection. And we wake up in the morning and think, no matter what gets done today, no matter what doesn't get done today, I'm okay. And isn't that true? We base so much of who we think we are about what we're doing. And it's not about our doingness, it's about our beingness. It's about our willingness to be that presence of love, to be that presence of peace. So she says when we can practice courage and compassion and connection, that's how we cultivate worthiness. We have courage to do our own work, compassion for ourselves, connection to reach out and care for each other. It's so wonderful to see you all greet each other, that connection that you have, compassion for each other and connection that you have. That says a lot about your community. And when you are able to express that in the world, that is a powerful place. So I'm sure you don't just do it here, but you do it wherever you are, is to see others in need and to have that place of compassion. Brené says about courage, she says, ordinary courage is about putting our vulnerability on the line. In today's world, that's pretty extraordinary. When we can be vulnerable in the world, when we can get to share ourselves in the world, that really says a lot about us. Because it takes courage to be on this spiritual journey, doesn't it? To do our own work. When we're faced with fears, we take responsibility. When somebody pushes our buttons, when we feel that poke, when they say something that bothers us, We could react, or we could take a step back and say, what am I thinking? What am I believing? What's the truth here? And when we do that, we have courage, and we're taking responsibility for our own thoughts. I remember when I was new and first introduced to New Thought, because the very first thing I learned is that no one is the cause of my happiness. No one is the cause of my pain. I take responsibility for my life. I am the one in charge. I was always looking for somebody else to make me happy, or something out there was going to satisfy what I was going through. But it takes courage to change, to be willing to do that. Nelson Mandela says, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Right? When we can triumph over our fears, we have courage. Brene says, compassion is not generally our first response to suffering. Our response to pain is to self-protect. And we protect ourselves by looking for someone or something to blame. Isn't that true? Yeah. And that's how I learned. When I first got into New Thought, I had a boyfriend, and unfortunately, I blamed him for everything. I blamed him for everything, and he got kind of tired of it. And he was more experienced in New Thought than I was, and so he said, I'd like to gift you a class. And I said, wow, that's great. And I didn't know he was doing it for his own survival. And so he gifted me this class in New Thought teaching, and it was about learning how to take responsibility. And I learned so much from that. And I saw I was blaming everyone for anything that was going wrong in my life. I put out that blame. And so I went home a different person. And he was very happy. It was money well spent. He thought so. Yeah, he was very happy after that. But that's what happens, is that we blame everybody else. Mm-hmm. And when we do that, we become the victim, right? And when I'm the victim, then I lose my power. I'm powerless because I gave all my power to that person or that situation or the government or the post office. And you do notice people going to the post office have reactions? Yeah, it's those things that we give away our power that way. But when we take responsibility, when we notice our emotions and take responsibility, we are empowered. We are empowered. And so when we notice that, we have more compassion for ourselves, right? And when we have compassion for ourselves, then we can have compassion for others. Because we believe in ourselves, we find ourselves worthy. And then if we take care of ourselves, we can reach out and take care of others. So she talks about connection. When we have courage to look at what pushes our buttons, we see the world with more understanding. When we have compassion for ourselves, we have compassion for others. And when we're open to compassion and courage, we're open to connection. And then we look for ways to serve each other. So I have an example, and I follow Substack app, and there's lots of stories on that, and there's a man that shares stories that people have written to him. And so I'm going to read this the way it was written. So this was a letter that was given that he published. Animal control knocked on my door with a complaint that I was hoarding dogs. Hoarding. I have one elderly beagle. Oh. The officer said the neighbors reported 6-7 different dogs in my backyard over the past month. Different sizes, different days, and given the ordinance in town, he had to take a look. I stood there, genuinely baffled. And then over his shoulder, I saw my 16-year-old come around the side of the house, holding a leash, attacked to a dog I had never seen in my life. The officer and I both looked at her. "This is Biscuit," she said, as if that settled it. In the garage, apparently, which I never enter, there was a setup. Water bowls, donated blankets, a bin of leashes, a whiteboard with names and times. My daughter, it turns out, had started a free dog walking service, but not for anybody. She noticed our town's senior van picking up the same elderly people for dialysis and treatment. And she got to wondering who walks their dogs on those days when they're in treatment. Nobody was the answer. The dogs were sitting in houses for 10 hours maybe, and their owners, already sick, were coming home to accidents and shame and more than they could manage. So she made flyers and she set them out at the senior center. She had 7 clients now. She takes each dog while the van has its owner. She walks them, feeds them, and takes them home before the van returns. Beautiful. The yard traffic the neighbor complained about was Biscuit and Company. The officer walked the whole operation. He read the whiteboard and he closed his notepad. He asked her if she would take on an 8th client, his mother.
Oh my Lord.
Chemo on Thursdays. She owned a corgi named Duke and no one to help. So Duke was going to start next week. The complaint was dismissed as unfounded, which is the government's way of saying we checked and it was actually the best house on the street. And so he has stories like this over and over again, of how people are helping people, about how people are caring for people. And that's that connection. Because when we have that awareness of our worthiness, awareness of our value in the world, we're able to be there for someone else. So the writer's daughter had the insight to, I'm going to help these people. Nobody's watching out for them. I'm going to help them. What a remarkable gift. That is compassion and connection. And Brené Brown says the wholehearted journey is not the path of least resistance. It's a path of consciousness and choice, because we're always choosing what's the highest choice I could make in this moment. Am I going to react to circumstances, or am I going to take a breath and respond for the highest good? To practice courage and compassion and connection is to look at the people around us and say, I'm all in. Can you say that with me? I'm all in. Yeah, because when we have that consciousness and that awareness, we know that we're okay. And if I'm okay, I can reach out to you and you and you. I can reach out because I know I'm okay, and I can reach out to help you. The heart of compassion is really acceptance. And compassion, when the heart is open and tender and feels, we can include everyone. And so much we read about how we exclude people. But I tell you, there's story after story that I'm reading in the world where people are reaching out and including each other and helping each other and standing up for each other. And those are the stories we want to read. Don't believe the headlines. Don't believe the news. Look for the stories about people helping people. There's many of them. And this is a time in our society right now when the world is that we want to create is nurtured by how we live today. So there's a Buddhist teaching about compassion that uses the metaphor of a bird. And if you think of a bird and the 2 wings, and one wing is in touch with mindful awareness, and the other wing is allowing and acceptance, a place of compassion. So in order for the bird to soar, it needs both wings. In order for us to soar, we observe the circumstances, we identify the situation, we accept it and allow it to be. We need both qualities of mindfulness and allowing to discover the freedom. Just as the bird is able to have the freedom and soar, we can soar when we have the awareness and the mindfulness and the compassion to take action. When we know ourselves and know what's going on inside, we can pause and arrive at the presence of heart that is love. We read one love, one heart. One love, one heart. When we're in touch with that, we're able to connect with that. And that's what we bring to the world. And it doesn't mean our emotions are gone. We're still going to have emotions. We're still going to have those moments of fear or frustration or irritation. We still have that. But when we are in charge, when we know we're in charge, we see it differently. We're not victim to it, but we're in charge of it. And so it means we find our way back home, back to love. We respond rather than react. Brene says, we are in a spiritual crisis, and the key to building a true practice is maintaining our belief in human connection. And she says something, she has a explanation of that. She says the connection is the spirit that flows between us and every other human in the world. It's not something that can be broken, but our belief in connection is constantly tested. Isn't that the truth? It's tested. Our belief in connection is tested all the time. We can feel the connection here today and get on the freeway and have a reaction, right? Doesn't take much. But if we can remember, we can find peace instead of that. She says it's very powerful to have a strong back, a soft front, and a wild heart. And what she means, a strong back is grounded in principle and value. A soft front is to be vulnerable and open. It's not weak, but it's brave. And a wild heart is the ability to be tough and tender, excited and scared, brave and afraid, all in the same moment. To have a strong back, a soft front, and a wild heart. I love that. It reminds us about doing our inner work, about our self-compassion, our self-awareness. So I have a meditation for us to do together, or a prayer for us to do together. And it's a way for us to allow compassion and wisdom and courage. And you've probably heard it before you've done it. It's a loving kindness prayer. And so just repeat after me. So first we're going to do this for ourselves, then we're going to ask for each other, and then for all of us. So you can have your eyes open or closed, whatever feels comfortable to you. Just repeat after me. May I be happy.
May I be happy.
May I be safe.
May I be safe.
May I be well.
May I be well.
May I be at peace.
May I be at peace.
May you be happy.
May you be happy.
May you be safe.
May you be safe.
May you be well.
May you be well.
May you be at peace.
May you be at peace.
May all people be happy.
May all people be happy.
May all people be safe.
May all people be safe.
May all people be well.
May all people be well.
May all people be at peace.
May all people be at peace.
So let's take that into prayer. I just give thanks with a grateful heart for this opportunity to come together in this beautiful community called Unity of Vancouver, that we are here individually and collectively, and we are here to express courage, compassion, and connection in us and through us and as us. And so I know that we've opened our hearts this day. And as these hearts are open, they are pure light and they shine this light. And I know as we are shining this light for each other, we shine this light for humanity. We know that wherever we are the light of love. We send the light of love. We are the peace of love. And so I know as we leave here today, we go out with this love and this light in this freedom and send this wherever it is needed. And together we affirm. And so it is. So it is. Thank you so much.